Well, hello again. It's Kathy and the lovely Rosie Vesperina. And we're riding home from a little trip to Caves Beach where we went for breakfast. Part of the ride heads up along the Pacific Highway where we have to ride at around 100 kilometres an hour, which always makes me a bit nervous because I'm never quite sure whether Rosie can get that far. But let's see how we go. It is March, the first couple of weeks of March, and holy dooly, a lot has happened, as everybody would know. Israel and the US began, I don't know what you call it, but began the war, for want of a better word, on Iran and vice versa. It's not my place to comment on politics or war. I don't know a lot about the histories of the countries and the conflict. I am trying to give myself a very quick crash course in it for work purposes because of the nature of the work that I do. It's important for me to understand what the environment is like, and so I've been reading a lot, watching a lot. I think what's difficult is to try and filter out what is fact and what is not fact, and that's hard to do with social media and the news and what have you. But yes, obviously a lot going on, and I feel for everybody involved and everybody's families and everybody's loved ones. It's a difficult time, not sure what the outcome will be in the long term, but I just watch from social media and from the news and what have you to try and follow along with what's happening. I think we are now on the Pacific Highway, so 100 kilometres an hour along here, which is, I said before, a little bit hairy-maclary for Rosie to do because she's only 150cc. But, my friend Fee is riding her 125 Honda Rebel, and, we both manage pretty okay at these sorts of speeds. It's there's no chance of us being able to overtake at any time, but we don't need to, and there's not many, because it's so early in the morning, there's not many cars on the road, so it's actually quite a nice ride back down the coast. I say down the coast because Caves Beach is north from where I live in Gosford. My closest beach is probably Terrigal, and obviously you go up through Terrigal, through McMaster's, Baddow Bay, Shelley Beach, up past the entrance, and further up that way along the coast. We are not necessarily following the coast on the way back down. We did on the way up, but on the way back down we're just following the Pacific Highway. I haven't done a lot since my last video a week ago in relation to the manual bike situation. I mentioned there that I have somebody who's thinking about selling their Triumph Speed 400, so I'm still waiting to hear about that. I've watched lots of YouTube videos on the Triumph Speed 400, and it sounds and seems like a good bike, so we'll see how that goes. In front of me is Raz. Now she rides I can't remember what the sort of bike it is, but it is only I say only, but it's obviously bigger than mine, but it's a 250cc bike, the one that she's riding, and obviously it goes really well. She's a small frame, small weight, small height person, so there's not a lot of weight on the bike, so 250cc seems to work really well for her. It has an aftermarket muffler on it, but I don't really know what that means in terms of altering the performance of the bike. I wish I knew what brand it was. I want to say it's a Honda, but I'm not 100% sure. And she's had her license for quite some time. It's a glorious day, isn't it? Look at the clouds and the sky, the beautiful blue sky. It's fabulous. Bit of a busy roundabout. I've been playing a little more with my DJI Mic 2 inside the helmet, and when I tried it the last time, or I tried it and the Mic Mini, there was a lot of background noise that seemed to interfere with the quality of the voice of me speaking. But I have changed some settings after watching some YouTube clips, so I'm hoping that in the future, if I choose to ride with the mic in the helmet, the sound quality will be better from the mic. I have made a couple of test videos, and that seems to be the case, so that's really good. I don't know about what happens when it's really, really windy, but we'll give that a go. Since the last video, another holiday has been booked. It sounds like I go on a lot of holidays, but actually what's happened is quite a few of my friends are having significant birthdays this year and next year. I have a friend with her 60th this year, which is the trip to Krabi. We have the trip to Nepal this year. And now next year in February, we have a trip to Bali for another friend's 60th birthday. I've been to Bali 3 times already, and I have to say it was not really on my list of places to go back to, but that's where my friend has chosen to have her birthday, so of course I will join her there for 5 days. And I will have a think about whether I want to hire a scooter there. There's been quite a few stories in the news lately about people in Bali having accidents on their scooters. And you don't often get enough information in the news articles to know whether they were licensed riders previously or in their home country, or whether they just decided that they would give scooter riding a go in Bali. I would not recommend that, and some of the stories are saying people weren't covered under insurance, and so that makes me think that maybe they did not have their license or an adequate license, and potentially weren't riding without the right clothing, which is probably true. So it kind of makes me question whether I want to hire a scooter. The area that we're going to in Bali next year is called Sanur, Sanur, and it's not an area that I've been to before, my favourite area in Bali is Ubud, and it's nowhere near the ocean, well, relatively speaking, but it's just lovely there, and the little town is lovely. It's not too commercial, well, it's still commercial, but not too commercial, and not as many tourists there all the time. So it's my favourite area, but I've not been to Sanur, so we'll see what that's like. The last time I was in Bali was in January last year, 2025, for my daughter's significant birthday, and I rode around quite a bit on Gojek scooters as passengers with helmets, and I loved it. I really enjoyed zooming around that way. So, and so reasonably priced too. So you kind of wonder whether you need to hire a scooter when it's so cheap to grab a Gojek, and they're much more qualified and skilled in riding around in those areas. So have a think about that. I've lost track of where I am because I've been chit-chatting, as I always do. Got that runner on the side of the road. Gosh, he's very brave. But it's lovely and green in this area, isn't it? I love it. So I think we're in this area in just past Tugra in Palmdale, and it's lovely. But many years ago the road wasn't quite as good as it is now, and there were lots of accidents on this road, so people are always cautious when they drive it or ride it. But I really enjoy riding it. We're heading now out into the open area in Palmdale, I think. Not many cars in front of me, is there? There's a few that have gone past, but not many in front. On your right you can see the M1 freeway. Rosie and I don't go there. I don't know if I had a bigger bike whether I would either. Maybe I would, because I'd feel more confident and have enough grunt to get out of any pickles that I get myself into, but the thought of it makes me feel uncomfortable, so probably not. If you turn right at this roundabout, you get to the Palmdale Crematorium, which is it's weird to say, but the grounds are just beautiful. There's that area, and then there's another area on the right there that are just beautiful grounds for people's final resting place. But there's also some good hiking tracks. If you park in the parking lot there and head further up the road, you can get into the bush a bit on some tracks. The only thing you have to be mindful of up there is that there's also a lot of dirt bike tracks for people with unregistered bikes, dirt bikes, head up there and go zooming around, which they're legally able to do. So you have to be careful when you're hiking up there. We just went past Heatherbrae Pies, and I love their custard tarts. I could eat one of them every day if I was allowed to, but they're not very good for me, but they are very nice. I don't love their pies as much. My most favourite pie is the steak and pepper pie at the bakery in Jindabyne. There's a bakery in the courtyard area. I can't remember what it's called, but they do a lovely steak and pepper pie and the best chocolate eclairs I have ever had. They are my absolute favourite. I can eat them anywhere else, but I love them there. And they're not quite as big as the big long ones that you get in other places. They're quite short, and they're just the perfect 2-bite eclair. And they do a banana and custard one as well as the chocolate one, and they are divine. So when I go to the Snowies, which I do often, I mentioned in the previous video, I always get a pie and a chocolate eclair from that bakery. It's delicious. So now we are heading through Wyoming towards North Gosford and home. I actually like this little stretch of land as well, especially when there's especially when there's not too many cars on it. I kind of like it. There are sections of this road that flood quite badly. I've driven along here when the poor council workers are trying to clear the drains so that the water gets off the road, and they were knee deep in it and still having trouble trying to do that. So it does flood in certain sections along here. I have my next lesson coming up soon, in a couple of weeks, with Hart. I did have a call from Wheel Skills letting me know that they had a private lesson available, a midweek one in the next week or so, but unfortunately because of my work commitments I can't take that lesson, and that's a shame, because Harry, the teacher there, I thought was just brilliant, and it was a great lesson, even though it's only a small kind of, well, not small, but you know, the area is not as big as Hart for riding, because Hart has that big loop of private road. I still learnt a lot from Harry, so I was a bit disappointed that I couldn't take the private lesson, but I'm sure there will be others. And that was up in Newcastle as well. So we're heading down now into Wyoming, the Wyoming shops. I think it goes Wyoming, and then behind me was Narara. So the other shops were at Narara. But here we are back home again. That was a quick kind of ride this time, although it's still about 18 minutes, but a quick ride back from a nice breakfast. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.